Hello and welcome to Heart of Poland. Now, if you are very lucky enough to have fallen in love with a Polish person that speaks English, then it is more than a little likely that your boyfriend or girlfriend will have learned their English from today's guest. We have one of Poland's top vloggers. I would call her basically Poland's English teacher. She's the national English teacher. It's Arlena Witt. Arlena, welcome to our very big studio.
Oh, thank you. It's enormous, and thank you for having me.
It is enormous. I have to admit, I'm slightly nervous because I'm
Don't
a bit
be.
worried
I should be nervous.
My English may not be good enough for today's conversation.
I don't think so. I really, really don't.
Can we agree that you'll just like pass over my pronunciation mistakes and my grammar?
I don't think you make any, so no, I will not be commenting on them.
Thank you. I got a free pass from you today.
Yep.
Because I know that you take pronunciation, both Polish and English, very, very seriously, don't you?
Well, it does make communication easier, doesn't it? So yes, I do pay attention to that, and I think it gets too little attention at school.
Now, you basically you can do English and American accent at will. Am I right? You can switch between.
I think so. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I try.
Are there any accents, English accents, and there's so many of them, that you still find quite hard to listen to? Scottish, for example, or something?
Yes, Scottish, Welsh, sometimes Irish, depending on how heavy it is. Sometimes Australian, also if it's heavy. And I also find it more difficult to imitate them. So I try to stick to the two basics that basically people in the entire world learn.
Yes.
Right? So yeah.
I will interrupt with a small anecdote. I was once in America and I went for a wushu class, which is a type of martial art.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I wanted to pass the time. And I spent time with the trainer and we were talking for quite a long time, and he goes, "Tell me, where are you from in Australia?" What? It turns out Americans have a hard time differentiating between Australian and English accents. They can't hear the difference. That's just a mild aside. Alena, I noticed that people tend to ask you the same questions in these interviews, and mi zależy, it's very important for me that you do something different today. What's the one question that people ask you that bores you? You know, like, it's like, ugh, whatever.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that it bores me because that would be rude. But one that I get most often is whether I prefer British or American accents.
Actually, I'm kind of interested in the answer, so let's maybe answer the boring question.
Okay. Well, I mean, when I listen to the British accent, I find it more elegant and more refined and more pleasant to the ear. But when it comes to speaking, I really don't have a preference. I really don't, because they both have something to them. I mean, some jokes in American sound funnier for some reason. I don't know why.
What I'm hearing from this is that English is better, so that's fine. You're in the right place.
Thank you.
Now, what's the one question that people don't ask you that you're quite keen to talk about? You know, is it your business, your life, a side project, something new that's coming down the pipeline, or just an obvious question that people don't ask that you want to talk about?
I think they ask me pretty much about everything. There are some subjects that I do avoid because of privacy issues or family matters, and maybe, I don't know, my past, things like that. But I try to be quite clear about that. I'm rather confident, and you know, I've been through therapy, and most of my viewers know that. So I try to set my boundaries very clearly, and most of them respect that, so that's great.
Let's get onto this therapy then, because it's fascinating.
Okay.
Poles have the stiffest upper lip of all time. Their upper lip is so stiff. and admitting to going to therapy. This is a film I think you recorded publicly. You spoke about it publicly. It was a couple of years ago.
2 years ago, I think.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Quite brave, really. Quite unusual, let's say. Because obviously during the film you're explaining why there should be no shame attached to something I agree with completely. Did you hesitate before making that film, or were you absolutely sure you wanted to say that to your viewers?
I did not hesitate, because I find that more and more people keep having the same issues that I used to have, and I found that I'm now very comfortable to talk about it. So since I have the microphone to do that, I just wanted to encourage people to try and to seek help and to make them understand that even though I may seem like I'm this, you know, super brave and outgoing person now, that's not the way that it used to be. And therapy helped me with that. So especially among young people who suffer from peer pressure and abuse, and, well, basically any kind of mental health problems. Most of these problems can be fixed with therapy. So I think you should give it a chance, and that's why I decided to talk about it.
Well, props to you, Mom.
Oh,
if I
thank
can mix
you.
an American, what is it, an analogy, metaphor, saying? I
don't know. Where does it come from?
Props to you is like, well done to you.
Right. I know the meaning, but I thought maybe it was a quote.
No, I just wanted to say I wanted to mix two English things.
Okay.
I'm desperate to impress Arlena with my English, so what can I say?
I'm already impressed. You don't have to keep trying.
Do I get an A star?
Oh, yes, absolutely. As many stars as you want.
Stars for everyone, that's the new world. So let's actually make this very clear to the viewers. You're kind of a big deal, really, aren't you? I mean, you're certainly in like the top Polish YouTube. There are obviously YouTubers with many more, but you're kind of like up there in the rankings, relatively high.
I mean, I don't really look at that because, no, I really honestly don't. But it's hard to believe because for many people, numbers is, what evaluates them, I don't know, for some reason. But I really, really don't. I just see my channel as a way to make my work more efficient and more effective because I can, talk about a subject once and it reaches far more people than it would if I don't know, worked in a school and taught a 30-person class.
Must be like, the satisfaction of working with a small group of people is wonderful. You used to do that as an English teacher.
Yep.
But it must be so satisfying that you've achieved this at scale. You are literally changing people's lives. You're helping them learn English, which they don't get at school. It's a regrettable fact from their teachers.
Many of them do. I never want to diss most of the teachers. I know that among any profession, both teachers and others, there are people who are very engaged and very professional and very committed. So there are people who do have wonderful teachers and they are just very lucky. I used to be, I was a very lucky student in that matter because I did have wonderful, wonderful teachers of English. And then when I heard the stories of other people telling me, that their teachers didn't have the knowledge or didn't have the qualifications or didn't have the enthusiasm maybe or the passion for the job, I found it really strange at first because I thought everyone was in the same position as I was, which is not the case.
I wonder, you obviously you've reached like 460,000, I think.
Maybe, I
Sorry
don't
to
know.
focus on the number, but it's still kind of...
Possibly, yeah.
It's interesting. You're releasing books, which basically, selling tens of thousands of copies. Is there anyone that's teaching English better than you in Poland?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure. I don't really follow other teachers because I don't see them as competition. I feel like we're all trying to do the same job, like we're all trying to help people. My aim is for Polish people to speak as great English as possible. So if someone doesn't need my channel because they already speak great English, brilliant.
How would we therefore assess, since you are the nation's English teacher, which I think is a pretty good title, has anyone ever called you that before?
No, I don't think so, no.
You heard it here first on The First News, clues in the name. How would you assess our Polish English speaking? We come pretty high actually in the international charts.
Yes, I think it's quite good because in most towns or cities, you can approach a random person and they will usually be able to say a sentence or two in English, which is great, and which is not the case in many, many countries. So I don't think that we're so terrible. I just think that we focus on the wrong things sometimes as we learn, and that's why I started my channel, because I thought that too few teachers pay attention to pronunciation, because if you make a mistake pronunciation-wise, then that can hinder communication the most. It is estimated that in 50% of all the cases where people don't understand each other when they're talking, it's because someone mispronounced something, not because they made a grammatical error or used the wrong word.
I think in my case, when I speak in Polish, we'll come on to Polish shortly, the problem is that my brain seems to be moving ahead of my mouth and is actually already thinking about something else whilst I'm saying something. And
that's pretty common.
It's like an Enigma code, but the one when they don't have the key and it comes out in the scrambled language. Let's move on to Polish, because that's also very interesting.
Okay.
Now, obviously, you're not a Polonistica or a Polish philologist.
No, I did not study Polish at university, no.
But I know that in your family, your father, I think particularly, spent a lot of time ensuring that you guys spoke properly, enunciated.
That's true. He is very interested. I think he really cares about correctness and he loves language, although he never studied it either. Yeah.
Do you dream in English?
I do sometimes. When I meet an English-speaking celebrity, I have a lot of dreams about Trevor Noah. And we do speak English in my dreams.
Interesting. Let me know if you dream in English after today's interview and
I
what
will.
it's going to be about. Okay. It could be that you had a ogarnięty prowadząca who asked you clever questions. That would be a nice dream to have. Let's get on some myth busting on Polish language. It's said to be harder than English. Would you agree with this?
I mean, I have heard this opinion and this study, I suppose, but I don't really have the right perspective. I think the person who could evaluate that best would be someone whose mother tongue is neither Polish nor English, and they learn both, right?
Yes.
Because as a native speaker, I mean, you know, I was kind of born with it, right? So
damn you.
It's hard for me to really say, but yeah, I can believe it, yes.
Do you get non-Polish people who are watching your videos not to learn English, but ironically to learn Polish?
Actually, yes. And that was very, very surprising to me because that was never my aim. You know, I speak Polish in my videos on purpose because I address my videos to Polish speakers, to Polish learners of English. And I really try to make myself understood well. And since many Polish students study from English-speaking books, then they don't really learn about the differences, the specifics about these two particular languages, like this pairing of languages, you know? So that's what I wanted to focus on. But yes, many foreigners actually message me about watching my channel and learning Polish, which is amazing.
It's kind of one of those hilarious unintended consequences
Yeah.
of doing something. It turns out it's like literally the direct opposite of what it was supposed to be.
Well, I mean, but if it benefits even more people than I had expected, then wonderful.
Is there one English word which you still have problems with pronouncing?
Well, sometimes when I see a word, I can never remember the correct pronunciation. I can't really think of one at the moment.
Peculiarity that seems to sometimes have a problem?
No, not that one, no. I think it's more of a matter of stress. Like, as I was coming here, I was listening to Edward Snowden's book, and he used a word, desirous, I think.
Desirous, yeah.
Yeah, desirous.
R-O-U-S.
And I heard it, and I thought, I don't think I would have known that that's the correct pronunciation of the word. Good to know. Yeah.
We had quite a famous YouTuber, Ryan Socash, who
he's
did
a friend of mine.
Collab is another strange new English word with, and he said he wouldn't recommend being a YouTuber to people because it's tiring and demanding. He travels and works a lot.
Right.
You have a slightly more static show, but nonetheless, it looks like a fair amount of work. You obviously prepare quite well for each of the filmings. Would you recommend being a YouTuber to other people?
That depends. I think that's a typical answer of a lawyer. I mean, if that's what you want to do, you should definitely give it a try, right? And you'll see yourself if it's something that you enjoy, if it's something that gives you fun, gives you satisfaction. But it is more difficult than it appears. And I'm not talking about the technicalities because it's quite easy to learn actually, you know, editing and recording and then using the YouTube platform. But it's more the messages and the comments from your audience that can be difficult for someone who has low self-esteem maybe, or who seeks acceptance and who seeks understanding among people who don't really know them and who are very, very brave in front of their keyboards. But if they'd met in person, then probably things would have been different.
That wasn't me.
No.
Your films.
No, I'm just saying that people are usually meaner online than they are in person. I have never, ever come across a person who is my viewer and who has anything negative to say to me. You know, it's always positive feedback in real life, I mean. Online, it varies. But since, you know, my therapy and my mental health kind of experience helps me through that and helps me understand the motivations behind the comments that I get, then it's much easier for me. Also, it's more difficult for a woman than for a man to be a YouTuber. Not only talking about, you know, the necessary hair and makeup that you have to go through before each recording,
Hello. I go through the same pain.
I think you woke up like this. But I mean that people are usually meaner towards women, and they also comment on a woman's looks much more often, as if it's the most important thing.
Yeah, you say that, but I get quite a lot of comments that, hey, Patrick, it looks like you really like Polish cuisine. Like,
no.
Yeah, because in pierogi, and it's like, I know I should lose some weight, but it's still kind of, I can feel that, you know, it's like...
We should be body positive. That's the trend that I want to promote.
Or ile się da, as we say, in Polish, as much as you can. Now, you have, in the long tradition, and of course I did let you know about this before the show, you have brought with you a personal item.
I have.
Which is one of your books. In fact, this is your...
Is it right? Is it the time now to show it?
This is the time, yes.
Okay.
Reveal the books.
Ah, there it is. It's two parts. This is my latest baby. It was born just about a month ago, so it's still fresh and new and smelly. Yes, but
have you stood there at any point in any of your books and just gone...
Of course, I smell every single copy. I love the smell of a fresh book. Yes, it's one of my favorite smells, actually. Yeah. But I'm afraid I've got some bad news because the first edition has sold out. So I don't know if when your video is going to air, but you can still order it. But I'm afraid that you'll be getting your copy in December.
So I wonder what will happen to these two. Basically, the last book standing.
I still have a few copies at home, you know, reserved for my family and friends. Yeah, well, you can look at the table of contents and a few sample pages online. Yeah, I'm afraid that the people who really want to have it now and they still haven't ordered it, they will have to wait. You know, they say patience is a virtue, and good things are worth the wait.
They say that, but I want them now.
You can keep them. You can keep them.
If it wasn't obvious that I was kind of hoping it might come in handy with my daughters one day if we could have a private class from your books as well. So what are you trying to do in your books? How are your books different from your films?
Right. So I never wanted to copy the exact same pieces of knowledge that I put in my videos into my books. I thought that would be just a waste of people's time and money. So I decided to write books that are a complement to my videos, that expand on the subjects that I didn't manage or didn't really want to touch in the videos. So this is actually the second book that I wrote, which came out this year. And this is about basically learning to speak modern English using everyday language to speak more fluently, more freely, by studying vocabulary in a very effective way. So I think the one thing is that I always try to keep a sense of humor in both my videos and my books, so that makes them, you know, fun to use and fun to read. Most of the vocabulary in my books comes either from clips from movies, so there are pieces of dialogue from movies and TV shows. And also for each chapter I wrote something I called a blog post, which is usually like an anecdote connected to the subject. For example, when I talk about driving around the city, I talk about how I took my driving license test when I was in the US, which was quite funny. So, you know, I just try to keep it. Yes, thankfully. Good. Yes, although it was really close.
Passing is the only thing that matters.
That's true.
No one else later.
That's true. I just took the papers and ran out in case he changed his mind. So yeah, I just try to keep it fun and keep it light, because I think that studying and, you know, learning should go together with having fun, because then it's most effective, and then you just want more, and that's the idea.
Yes.
My first book, though, was about grammar. So that was a subject that I didn't really discuss in my videos, because I wanted my channel to focus on pronunciation and, well, vocabulary occasionally. But people wanted me to discuss grammar, and I thought that it's more effective if you actually practice it. So if you do the exercises, and that's why the book I thought was the best way to teach it.
That's funny, because when I was an English teacher, which is the classic thing almost every foreign man does
Sure.
when it comes to foreign, not having any qualification, neither a TEFL, a CFL, or any of the other three-letter or four-letter acronyms, which apparently also mean that you do know what you're talking about.
Right.
And the student would go, but why? And you go, that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
It's like that would be the same.
Yeah.
You probably can't make a book out of just saying that endlessly. So
well, sometimes I do have to say that, because sometimes that is the answer, right? Like the reason can be historic, or it comes from other languages that influenced English, you know, throughout history. But many things can be explained, or at least you can find an analogy, you know, in Polish, which for me is, I think, easier than for you because, you know, I've been living with Polish a bit longer.
Just a bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Just a tad. We won't go into any age-related. I've learned not to talk about that.
But I'm never embarrassed to say how old I am, and I don't think people should be should avoid the subject. I'm 39, and I don't mind saying it.
Man, you just broke the invisible glass ceiling at one of like the walls in between us.
I'm not going to change reality if I don't talk about it, right? It's just a fact. So it's like science.
I'm 36, and I'm happy to say that.
Wonderful.
And I have a slight tum. Man, we've broken 3 walls or 2 walls in between us. I like this. I like smashing things. Alena, I've tremendously enjoyed this conversation. I've been looking forward to it for some time. It only saddens me to say, with regret, that we must unfortunately bring a curtain, invisible curtain between us and end today's
Well, all
chat.
good things must come to an end.
Arlena Witt, Vitamina, Poland's national English teacher or teacher of English. Which one is the right way around? Oh, we'll discuss this later. Thank you very much for having been a fantastic guest. Yes, I have really enjoyed myself, and I learned a couple of pronunciation things about the English language as well. So if you want to check out Arlena, you can find her by searching for her or checking out her channel. It will be in the description below. And of course, I recommend some of the other fascinating conversations with fascinating people leading fascinating lives in the fascinating country of Poland. Check out our episodes of Heart of Poland on the First News, wherever you find it. We do, after all, live in the world of the search engine and social media. I'll see you again for the next episode of Heart of Poland.